Welcome to the Gawler Veteran Vintage and Classic Vehicle Club's inaugural Barossa Valley run from Gawler to Greenock, held on Sunday the 3rd of April 2016. This event is specifically for pre-1930s vehicles. An hour before the official start time, we already have a good lineup of vintage cars. The four veterans that arrived were very popular with the spectators. From left to right we have a Renault, a Willys, a Ford T and a Minerva. Owners were obviously very keen for a day out in their old cars on a route with very few traffic restrictions. First away, the oldest veteran on the rally being flagged away by Tony Piccolo, watched by one of the founding members of the Gawler Car Club, Trevor Bellchambers. The remaining three veterans making their way to the start, a Ford T followed by a Belgian-made Minerva and a Willys Overland. Long-time Gawler Car Club member and co-organiser of this event, Trevor Unsworth, is flagged away for the run to Greenock. The veterans were given a head start before being followed by a variety of vintage cars. Here we have a couple of Chevrolets, a Falcon Knight, a Ford T and an Austin 7. 36 vintage vehicles turned out for this inaugural run through the Barossa Valley. The member for light, Tony Piccolo, waving off David Greer's Meteor. This 28 Austin 7 at speed as it leaves the start line. After leaving Gawler, the cars passed through Sandy Creek, then on to Lindock for a morning tea stop, where coffee and cake was provided. From Lindock, the run then went through Jacobs Creek, Tanunda, Seppeltsfield and on to Greenock. At Greenock, the vehicles lined up around the oval in order of arrival. Some of the later arrivals: Greenock Oval, a magnificent location for the end of the run. Club members, spectators and the early Ford V8 Club came in their classic vehicles to add to the occasion. The first to arrive at Greenock was Steve Freeman in his veteran 1913 Ford Model T. Another veteran belonging to Gawler Car Club's Trevor Unsworth, a 1916 Willys Overland Tourer C6 sedan built in England in 1929, driven by Trevor Evans. 1925 T-model Ford Coupe belonging to John and Lynn Skurgi. Ian Wilson from the Sporting Car Club arrived in his 1925 Errol Johnston. Never heard of this make? Well, Errol and Johnston built the body for Malcolm Campbell's Bluebird Land Speed record breaker of 1929. A veteran 1914 Minerva Model KK belonging to Sporting Car Club member Ray and Jean Mossop. David and Michelle Greer's 1927 Austin 7 Meteor, members of the Austin 7 Club of South Australia. Another Ford T, this one a 1922 model belonging to David and Gail Seeley. Another Austin 7, this one a 1928 Chummy, driven by David Sells. A 1929 Chev Superior K, owned by Lily Shear and driven today by Alan Schmeiss. Gawler Car Club's Don and Sue LeBusque in their magnificent veteran Renault AX from 1911. 1928 Hudson sedan driven by John Malloy. Rod and Doretta Hill's 1929 Chevrolet sedan. Robert Goy's 1929 Chev Tourer. Albie and Kay Gray's 1929 Marquette Tourer, also members of the Gawler Car Club. a 1928 Oldsmobile Tourer belonging to John Warner. John is a member of both the Gawler Car Club and the Oldsmobile Club. Gary Bielitz in Dad and Dave's 1925 Chev Buckboard, all the way from Snake Gully. A 1922 Ford T pickup belonging to Herb and Ros Pollard from the Barossa Valley Historical Vehicle Club. Jeff Hanson's 1928 Dodge Tourer. Graham Vickerman brought along his 1928 Falcon Knight Roadster. Merv Lewis's 1929 Chrysler 65, another Gawler Car Club member. Alan Tolfs from the Gawler Car Club in his 1929 Hudson Roadster. Roger Bennett entered this event driving the Vintage Sports Car Club's immaculate 1925 Rugby. Shane Connery's 1927 Essex Boat Tail Roadster. Frank Smith from the Gawler Car Club brought out his 1937 Alvis Speed 25 just to give it an outing. Gawler Car Club member Elaine Halson was along for the run in a 1929 Ford A Phaeton. Kevin and Eileen Draper in their very reliable 1928 Ford Model A. This 1928 Nash sedan is owned by Robert and Ann Arbon. Ian Daly brought out his 1928 Ford A Roadster. Another 1928 Ford Model A, this one belonging to Robert Crook. Robert Chisholm's Ford A from 1928. Another 1928 Ford A owned by Neil Somers Cairn. Bob Modra's 1927 Chev Tourer, another member from the Barossa Valley Historical Vehicle Club. The Vergara family arrived in their 1933 Dodge sedan. Every vehicle finishing the event was flagged in by David Warman using Glenn Dix's 1995 Adelaide Grand Prix flag. Gawler Car Club's president Fred Chapman in his 1929 Graham Page. Graham and Dorothy Butler came dressed to suit the era in their 1928 Rio Model M Flying Cloud. Don Gaskin's 1924 Rugby. David and Pam Moll's 1926 Oldsmobile Sedan. 1926 Willys Whippet belonging to David Prest. As can be seen by the badges on the front of the car, David belongs to a number of car clubs. This 1924 Rolls-Royce Doctors Coupe belongs to David Hoytzenroder, also a member of the Gawler Car Club. Jeff Boundy, the event organiser, was the last car to arrive in his 1927 Willys Whippet. Joe Federico in the rescue vehicle, advising Darryl Warman that no one had broken down. The organisers, Jeff and Jean Boundy, announcing the winners of the raffle. Gawler Car Club's members and volunteers who are responsible for the success of this event. The vehicles and drivers in order of arrival at Greenock. The Gawler Veteran Vintage and Classic Vehicle Club will host the Veteran and Vintage Barossa Valley Run in 2017 on Sunday the 9th of April. The pre-1930s vehicles will once again travel from Gawler to Greenock with a morning stopover on the village green in Lyndoch.